Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not only bringing popcorn, but I also want to talk a little bit about AI and marketing. And we are a small startup out of Zurich. We are 7 people. And what we do is basically marketing analytics and apply AI on it in various things, in various ways. And today, I want to talk about how you can actually click this button. So that's in the presentation. That's the last slide. It's also good. That's the second. No, that's actually the last. Okay, yeah. While the presentation gets set up, today I want to talk about what you can actually really do at a real case scenario with AI and marketing. And we selected one specific case, which is we talk about how you get control of all of your marketing data. So a lot of, very good. Here we go. How can you get back control of all your data? This is what I want to talk about. And the fact is that, I don't know if you know this picture. This is actually from a guy in the meanwhile, which I know by person. It's from the Marketing team in the US. And they actually construct every year a paper where they put in the 8,000 most relevant marketing tools. So these are 8,000. We try to be on the next one. But the problem is not these tools. The problem is you need these tools, right? An average marketeer has 10 to 15 tools which they need to use in every day. Is it from Google Analytics, CRM, social channels, DSPs, whatever you need to have them. That means you have thousands of metrics. Each of these tools give you reports, statistics, data, things, as Melissa mentioned before, things you really want to know, things you actually don't want to know, but when they pop up, yeah, you probably need to know it. So it's impossible to keep an overview, a holistic view of your data. It's not possible anymore. And it's too late to realize issues. And also too late to realize good opportunities. So today, I want to talk about how you can monitor your KPIs at scale. How actually you can use AI right now to put it in your metrics. And there are 3 methods. And I want to touch each of them because some you probably already do. And the first one is usually what marketeers which we work with. We have 20 customers on the platform right now. What they usually do when they approach us, they do manual monitoring, right? So you have teams set up, or you have your team set up, which is actually monitoring your campaign and looking at the data in every day, or in a certain, or on Fridays, or on Mondays. So you go through your Google Analytics stats, you go through your sales stats, and then you check, okay, where do I need to change it? That's the easiest way, but it's also very, very labor intensive. The next step is putting limits and thresholds. So you tell, okay, you know, this KPI, this revenue KPI, if my revenue drops above 3%, or above or kicks, then I need a notification of whatever kind. But obviously, this has some limits. What is if Saturday is always bad in your revenue, right? Then you always get these nasty emails. And so it has a lot of limits, but it's the first step to doing that. And for instance, Google Analytics has a nice alerting system, which you can already do that today. And the last step, obviously, which I will talk about today, is how you can use AI, or better say machine learning, for that, and how it can help you to really have a better overview of your statistics and your metrics. And first, no AI without data. And for me, this is very critical. So you cannot do any AI if you don't have proper data. And what that means is you need to take care of that. Right? 80% of each AI project is actually gathering data, not doing the nice modeling stuff and the answers, but gathering the data. So you need to do several steps before you can actually do it. And what we usually kind of deviate 2 things. One is you need data gathering and aggregation. So when you look at all your tools, or your 15 tools, you need to somehow a place where you put the data together. And if you do that for AI, doing it on Friday evenings in Excel is not the right way because you need more data. You need it daily. You need it hourly. you need information about, is Saturday going better than Monday? Or is Monday morning better than Saturday in the night? So you need a lot of data, and you need to aggregate that. It needs to be your data. And frequent data exports are a very important thing on that. And the next thing is normalization, which is when you get the data together from all these tools, data is not data. What I mean with that is some platforms tell you the totals. Let's take an example with, I don't know, if you care about the followers on Twitter, then you always have the total followers, which you actually don't care. You just care about the growth, right? What happened in my campaign? Whereas Google gives you the daily visitors, this is a different number. So you need to normalize and make it clean to then start applying AI on it. And several things, additional problems are time zones and so forth. So it's very important that you don't compare bananas with apples. So even if people tell you it's a banana, it's actually an apple. By the way, that's the facts for CNN campaign against Trump. It's nice. They have a lot of pictures. So it's very important that you have nice data cleaning, right? So what's the next thing? Now, I talked about anomaly before. What's really an anomaly? And you all got this popcorn here. So, and the point is, anomaly is when something is not as it should, when it's abnormal, right? So it's abnormal to that state you prospected it. So it could be that the popcorns which actually don't pop are an anomaly. But maybe it's normal that 10% don't pop. So when is it really an anomaly? Is it different from Monday to Tuesday? And this is where we look into what are different points of anomalies. There are actually 3 different categories of anomalies, and now I go one step down. And one anomaly type is what we call the outlier, which is basically you have revenue coming in. You see that here. This is, for instance, your revenue. You have 30, 40K revenue a day, and then suddenly you have a spike. And then it goes down again. Do you want to be notified about that? If it's revenue? Probably yes, right? If it's going down? Probably even more. If it's the waiting time on your page, yeah, if it's just 1 hour, never mind. If it's 1 day, you probably want to know. So it's also depending on the metric you look at, if that's relevant or not. A second anomaly which we talk about is what we call sustained increase or sustained decrease, is when you have something like the revenue going 40, and then for a certain time of period, it's going up, and then going back to what the system calls a normal state. So it's a window, a time window when something happened. And this is usually very important, because these could be events. These could be real problems which you have in a system. It could be that your landing page breaks, or it could be that there are various reasons why this could happen. And last but not least, what is also a little bit hard to detect sometimes is the variance change. So you have your revenues going slowly, and we had that actually with a customer recently. So his revenue was actually, it's a little bit higher, but his revenue was like that, and then suddenly it started to spike. And it was not at one point, it was going down, up, and then, and after, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, it came close again and was same again. And we looked at that, we actually saw this anomaly. We talked to the customer, and we realized, in his case, we saw a big correlation into currencies. So, and this customer was actually active in Brazil. So they had a campaign running in Brazil, and they were looking at this campaign, and they saw that due to the currency change, in 2 months, they had a big currency fluctuation against the euro, and this had a big variance in their revenue, which was for them very scary because they didn't know how it happens, actually. And then when they found out, then they knew, okay, we need to behave differently when currency things change. So this is an example. And what I also tell you is that these are the 3 different anomalies which you usually try to detect, and it's also very hard for a human being to detect them on large scale. And then what you then can do, if, for instance, you see a variance change, you can compare it with other data, right? So when you see a variance change anomaly, we usually compare it with other data, and you should do it yourself. So, for instance, we had here revenue of an App Store client. I blacked out the stuff. He was OK for showing it, but I blacked out all the company logos and also the sadly the y-axis, but he had revenue in the App Store, and then he had a very high correlation starting 15 March-ish with his users. So he had unique users on the website. So it was clearly seen that all the unique users, or a lot of unique users directly go into the App Store and then buy. So he had this variance change. We saw this anomaly, and this was very interesting for him, just as an example that you see how this looks like, right? And what you can do with the data when you see that in one place. And obviously here is already the point. You need to aggregate this data and have it in one place. Otherwise, you cannot do that. Otherwise, you have a very narrowed down view on your data. And how does it actually work? Now, you know the different types of anomalies, but how does it work? How do you actually do that? How does a model do that? And I want to show you the 3 steps, which is actually fairly easy to do something like that. So first, we take our examples is amount of sold popcorns. So we stay with popcorns today. And you see here we have the Mondays are very low, the Tuesdays are low, Wednesdays a little bit better, Thursday, Friday is our top cinema night, and then it goes down again, Sunday, and then boom, right? And you see it's a weekly pattern. Huh? So it's a weekly pattern of the amount of sold popcorns which we have in our stores. Now first, we train our model. So what we do is we take our AMA model and give him a lot of data. At best, we give him years of data. At worst, we give him a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks already help. We say 60 to 90 data points give you a first intention, and then, but if you need a couple of years to really have seasonality in there. But after, if you feed the model a couple of months, then he already knows Mondays are usually low, and Tuesdays are low, and then it goes up, right? What you do then is, next step is we predict one day. So we actually tell the model, tell us what the next day should be based on your data which you know. And the model will tell me, next day is roughly, 28,000. So he will tell me the prediction of the next model is something like that. This is what the AI model does for me by feeding him the data before. And then, when the day comes, I look at the real data. And if the real data is deviating too much, I actually say, this is a potential anomaly. And I don't say it's yes or no, but actually I score it. And this is very relevant for you as a marketeer, because you need to know how much is it, how bad is it, but also for the machine itself, because we then can give feedback loops to the machine if it was good or not, and he changed his scoring. And what I want to show you here, basically, it's super easy. It's just prediction. It's linear. It's just taking data in and predicting the next day. But it's in the back, obviously, a lot of technologies can be applied to that, how to make it better. And the technology models here to mention some, which we also use in our daily anomaly detection. One is exponential moving average algorithms. They're fairly straightforward to use. You can find 1, 2, 3 examples on that. We use bitmap algorithm as well to do these modelings and also for the predictions and anomaly detection. And we use neural networks, especially LSTMs, because these are all metrical time data. But the most important thing is many others, depending on your data. So what we do and if you do it yourself, you also should consider that, is we look at how the data looks like. What data is there? For instance, if you send the email, let's take an example. You send the email, a newsletter, once a week, but irregularly. And then you send the email, and then it gives you a lot of clicks on this day, right? In the next 24 hours, you have a huge amount of clicks, and then it's flattening again. Do you want an anomaly for that? Probably not. Do you want alert? Someone should call you? No, right? That's not. So this number has a total different meaning than your revenue spikes. So you need different models to train this data. So what we do is basically we look at the data, we look how it looks, and then change the model on the go when we see the data coming in and take the perfect model to find the anomaly. And we actually, last time in the meetup, we had a big request on, we have made an Excel template how you can predict data. And we're now working on an Excel template and e-learning, also now the anomaly detection. So if you want to get notified, just drop me an email and we'll put you on the list and we can send you. So what I mean with this is you can actually do that yourself in Excel. There are Excel functions which are fairly easy, and we show that in the meetup. And we will also prepare one where you can do anomaly detection. So if you want that, just let me know, and we will prepare that. It's obviously not super sophisticated, but it gives you a first step. It gives you entrance. And then the last step, if you found the anomaly, is obviously actionable alerts. Because anomalies itself don't really help you. It's actually a problem, right? If I tell you, hey, your revenue is going down, it's actually not really nice. So you have a new problem, you have more work. So it's very, very important and critical that you tell the customer or your user what the problem is and what he can do next. And here's an example, what we do with actionable alerts. So when we see there was a visitor decrease, and at the same time we saw correlation with the CEO scoring going down, so we informed the user that there's something going on, and he just should look into it, what is really happening. And then when you correlate this data with more data, things like sitemap checks, technical checks, or other data which you have from email campaigns, then you can give way more advice and way more action alerts at the end of the day. So I talked a bit about the methods using AI, and I hope you have now a glimpse view into one example how you can use AI to help you to get better control of your data, to don't waste time anymore to actually look at all these data points. And I want to talk about the pitfalls a little bit, which obviously also we learned the hard and the good way. The first thing is there are false positives. So there are things which look bad but actually are not bad, or the other way around. So this is very relevant. Then second thing is over-alerting. Obviously, if you have anomaly detection, you need to be very careful that you don't over-alert the user. I mean, you know it yourself, right? If you get 100,000 notifications, yeah, I don't know who likes these Google Analytics notifications, these like 100 in the list, you know, which when we log in, you always have hundreds or something, it feels like. It's very over-alerting, and it's urging. So you should be very wise in what anomaly is really important for the customer and what not, especially if you look at 1,000 metrics. And the last pitfall is no rating of alerts. Every alert we give, we actually ask for feedback from the user, because this feedback can take back into the model to train the model and be better. So if I tell you, hey, on Friday you had a bad day, hey, this was strange on Friday again, and you tell me, this is not anomaly, I don't care. Fridays are things where we do events, so I don't want to be informed. And you tell that the model 2 times, it's good. So he will look at this KPI and will take that as feedback or as a change point in the model to actually ignore this. And the benefits, obviously, first, sleep better, because you have all the monitoring is done. You don't need to care about the monitoring anymore. This was also the title of my speech. Then second is obviously focus on relevant situation. So you only get informed when it's really relevant. I mean, looking at your numbers and seeing that they steadily go the same trend in the last 10 days makes fun, but it's actually not really makes business sense. You should look at it when it's not the way it should be. And third benefit, obviously, you have constant monitoring of all your KPIs. So you cannot just monitor 5, but thousands can be monitored for you with AI. You have minimized operations efforts, and obviously you eat the right popcorn. You don't eat the corn, but the pop. And this is also the kind of the closing. Yeah, you got all the popcorns. I hope they pop. And later at the apéro, we'll also provide some popcorn. We actually bought the popcorn machine here. So I hope they will all open up and we don't have a lot of anomalies there. Otherwise, my incident response team is over there and will handle that. And if you want to know more about us, yeah, just let us know, and we're happy to talk. Thank you very much.